Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fight Chat Friday from TKD Coach Academy. This week we're looking at hand position, how to hold them, how to guard, and what uses different guards have. This has come up many times as a question or as a debate topic, so join us as we dig into this one.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 125 of Fight Chat Friday. So hands up or hands down, that's the big question and controversial topic in ITF Taekwondo. So this has come up time and time again. For me, lately we've seen a mix of people who have their hands up and down, and this is like a tradition and like almost stereotypical of Taekwondo, whether it's WT or ITF, that it's the style with the hands down and the flowy movement style. So there's reasons why people do this, because of course at the further distance there's not that many threats, let's say, so you
Yeah,
don't have to have your hands as engaged. But we see, especially for us, with the hands element of it as well and punching compared to WT, we do need to have them engaged at certain times, and there's really important times where you need to have them up and engaged and prepared more than others. So we're kind of going to get into that today, of the times that you need to make sure to put yourself in the driving seat and have a good opportunity to attack and defend.
so just I suppose to go over what we're thinking, different places you might have the hands or height, so in and around the shoulders, floating about the hip. Generally speaking, we're dealing with front leg threats out here. It might float up and even go higher to head height, particularly as you're carrying over a high front leg, or if the distance is bigger, or if you're trying to draw your opponent in, you might have a relaxed hand that floats below your hip. So I suppose that kind of covers the general areas the hands will go to.
Yeah, that's particularly on the front hand position. So we also have the backhand, which is generally across
Mm,
the solar plexus or down by the side on the back. So that one down the back
yeah.
is generally not used to anybody. And that happens as well, particularly based on the facings. So if you're
Mm,
full facing, you're naturally going to have that position. If you're that little bit more half facing, you'll have a mix. And side facing generally means your backhand is out of commission completely and is not
yeah.
engaged. So we're going to show you different ways. Now, here's the up front, the best people and the best ITF fighters are able to mix and match based on the situation and the intention that they have, whether they're attacking, defending, and what they want to do next, and also the best position for them in that particular moment.
So just to have a look at front hand in action from a couple of competitors here, we can see that the front hand transition, that it's already in place. We had a lower front hand from Norway in that instance and punished by Slovenia. And then we have a slightly offline front hand from Slovenia here, and allowing Norway to step through and deliver a backhand to the body. So we can see some of the advantages, disadvantages of the positions, uh, you know, as the couple of interactions play out.
Yeah, and that's just on the front line, let's say. It's, we're not really talking about the backhand too much yet,
Not yet.
but we see Erskine Blue. She actually has her hand in a fantastic position when she lifts. It's almost like that puppet string idea. The knee lifts, the hand lifts, but because it's outside the shoulder, then Nora is able to hit right down the middle of the line. So it's been able to use that. We'll show you different ways as well that you can use that more effectively in attack and defense throughout these clips.
Okay, so one of the first benefits of having the hand up is that as you get, is particularly following the legs, you get to be able to engage with hands faster and faster than your opponent, not just faster arbitrarily.
Yeah, because if you might have your hands up and so does your partner at the same, your partner, sorry, your opponent at the same level, but because your intention is to actually follow on, then you have that step ahead. So we see Thomas here in blue is able to clash with the leg, and he knows he wants to get to the hand next, so he has it up and ready. And we're going to see another clip coming up as well from Adam Shelley, who actually has a very similar idea. We'll go through that in a sec. But here we have some of the ladies. Poland in particular has the front hand up and knows exactly what comes next. That hand is in position to go straight through.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's just very, very simply you're almost creating a reaction for yourself or an anticipation for yourself when your hand is already in position over that front leg. When a clash happens, when your opponent moves away, naturally you just go with what's there in front of you. The hand is right there to be used. And so, generally speaking, what we're looking for is people to avoid trapping their hand when we have that, the front leg being carried. If it ends up stuck against the hip, falling across the back of the body, or pointing towards the floor, or the starfish, where it's reaching out in all directions, it's just not of use. So, with the leg
Yeah.
up is one of the times we would say, look, you really want to carry the front hand high over that front leg.
Yeah, that's it. There's no real practical use of having the front hand in particular down low, because all it's ever
No.
going to do is get trapped with the front leg. And then that opens up all that space on that front side, especially if somebody is quite leggy, able to lift that up, switch to the hacks, switch to a yap dolya, or even a hook kick as well. So if they have those abilities with the legs, you get that front hand trapped, you're in big trouble.
Yeah. So let's look at using the hand as a safety barrier now.
Yeah, so this is like thinking of the space between you and the opponent at the front. So we see Theo here from Norway recognizes there's nothing stopping him as an entry and goes right forward into that blitz, because there's essentially no barrier from Ruben's front hand there. So from his elbow up, there's a clear barrier that doesn't exist right now. So that's empty space for Theo to just push right into.
Yeah. And, when you're reacting, I mean, this is a big thing, you're already starting a fraction of a second behind your opponent. So if their hand is
For sure.
higher and they're the ones initiating, there's very little chance that you're going to bring your hand up and into a safe position. So even lifting it a little bit gives you a chance of getting it up into an effective space.
Yeah, but even if you want to use your defensive psychic, let's say, to counter a blitz, that's also a great position to hold it up. Here we
Yeah.
see Taylor Smith in blue actually uses her hand really well to stop the head kick. And then she resets the front hand in a great position to switch the momentum, which we covered in last week's video. So we just seen that in the first clip. The hand was up to stop the head kick. Hand is in a good position. Again, the barrier, and then the barrier actually helps her in attack. So here we go right now. That's the first one. The arm just comes up as the barrier to the head in defense. Then she has another barrier again, and now she has the barrier there, which makes it similar as the first few clips we had, simple, faster entry to hands.
We can see with both girls here as well, it's not necessarily that they're carrying their front hands very high. It's that the hands are active. They're at least hip level before it
Yeah.
starts, and they're almost linked to the leg. So as the leg goes up, the hand goes up. And it becomes a very, very natural thing. And then it's easier to make use of the hand when it's up there.
That's it. You don't want the hands to be just sloppy and hanging around and falling around the place. You want them, as you said, active, engaged, and ready to be used when necessary at the split second, without having to lift and adjust and then do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. So let's have a little look at the timing advantage that you can get by or through hand positioning, shall we say.
Yeah, here's the clip I mentioned earlier. Adam never holds his hand like this unless he wants to go to the front hand. So he's retired now, so we can share his secrets. But he has that hand extended when he's intending on going to the front hand, which allows him to just lean and bang. Timing advantage there again with the front hand. Nice clear score.
Yeah. And then likewise, we have a similar thing here from the girls, just in terms of the intention. The hand's already high. You can see the set of the body, and repeatedly from right here, just the hand was already high. It's held at the shoulder or above and just ready to engage.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to think about it. All it is just an extension, really, isn't it? And again, same from Tyra here on the flip side from the fight we seen earlier. Cracking fight, by the way. Go check that out on Tekker's page if you
Yeah.
haven't already. But yeah, great position on the front hand. And what we always talk about here is when people go to hands, especially, it's about not leaving the other person have the distinctive advantage by cancelling the other person out. That's important to get the differentiators with the scores. But because your hand is in position and it can fight back, that's a great place for you to be able to fight back, not have any clear differentiators on the scoreboard where, oh, that person got a clear technique, that person got a clear kick. Where when your hands are in position, you kind of stop that from happening because you cancel each other out a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning at this point in time that if your flexibility requires that you have a very big lean when you're kicking, you're not going to be able to make use of this. So the high hand position doesn't work if your body is super leaned back anyway. So
Yeah.
you do need to have that leg control, and we saw that massively from Tyra and Taylor Smith, where if the body is tall, it really helps with being able to keep a good position, so you can do like Thomas and Clash and Go, like Adam and Step Through. It's really important. But we didn't talk too much about the backhand, because usually it's either locked and loaded, ready to go to launch a backhand punch as a counter, or it's there as a safety. And we have just that cautionary tale, I suppose, where we have David Kerr with a lovely attempt at the band-aid, and it just happens to be that Batista's backhand is where it should be on this occasion.
Yeah, luckily for him, because that's exactly what you said. When you lead off that front leg with the side kick, you need to have that backhand engaged, because it's a great place there. Just as a counter naturally is going to come around that other side where it's a spin, or if it's in the opposite stance, it's going to be coming under with the turning kick, for example. So to
Mm-hmm.
have that in position there is a good safety net.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that, you know, as you watch people training, it's natural for the hand to start to float back as the body position shifts. So it's something you have to make some conscious effort to do to keep that the hand within your visual range the whole time as well. So I think what we are summarizing is that if the distance is big enough, you can have your hands as relaxed as you want and wherever you want. But as you move into that range, the hands need to become active. They need to do a job for you. And with the front hand in particular, if the leg is active, front hand needs to be active as well. It
Mhm.
needs to be staying higher than the leg and kind of leading the movement rather than reacting to the rest of the body movement.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be super high. Like we've seen for some examples, like for me, I like to tell my students, like once your hand is at least level with the elbow, then you can adjust it handy enough wherever you want to go with it, but at least it's engaged and prepared, let's say, where you
Yeah,
don't have to have that active engagement of then using it to put it into play. But again, we see like from all the clips we use today, most people here have an intention with it, and it's having that intention of what comes next as well. So it's very conscious from these people initially, and then it becomes a subconscious thing where they just have it in a good position based on what they want to do. So it's having that conscious thought in your mind at the beginning to train yourself, train your mind, and then before you know it, it just becomes second nature of how you hold your hands in a decent position.
absolutely. So, folks, it doesn't end the debate about where you hold your hands and when, but at least you have some understanding about what some of the top competitors do and why, and what we think we would, you know, advise, coach, and push people towards. And hopefully, that's enough to guide you until the debate kicks off again. So, that's us for this week. Thanks everybody for listening.
And see you in the next one.